everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to podcast episode 53 with Garrett Steenblik, CEO of Trucker's Body Shop. I'm wearing a suit, and you'll find out more about that after the efRouting top hauls of the week. Coming in at number one for the drive-ins, we got an Ohio to Maryland, almost 400 miles. Really nice RPM on the top end, almost 4.6. And then we got a Dayton, Ohio over to Warrenton, Virginia, 450 on the miles, again on the top end, 4.5. So very good top end on drive-in going east. Coming in at number one on the reefers is a New York to Richmond, Virginia, again close to 400 miles, anywhere between $4 and 5.5. Again, some very nice money on that lane, especially leaving from New York. Back down to reefer Allentown to Boston, 340 on the miles, coming up to $10 a mile. I don't know who booked it. Whoever booked that just made their whole 3-week pay in a day. So good for them on that one. Number one on flatbed is Demopolis over to Knoxville, Tennessee, 3.1 to 5.3 on the top end. And then basically the only normal load of the entire week for flatbed is a Mississippi over to Houston, 2.8 to 2.9. Let's call it 3. Best to loop for the drive-in, starting out of Houston, Texas, over to Milwaukee, Lafayette, back to Milwaukee, hit up Chicago, end up back in Houston. Normal amount of work for a normal week, $6,000 to 6.6 on the gross. RPM pretty average there. On reefer, we start out in Philly, go over to Findlay, Ohio, then to Allentown, Milwaukee, and back to Philly. Again, another normal work week, $7,000 to 7.8 on the gross, decent RPMs. Wrapping it up on the best loop for flatbed is a Muncie, Indiana start, going over to Effingham, Illinois, Lufkin, Texas, over to Texarkana, and back to Muncie. I mean, that's a shorter week, 4 or 5 working days, 5.2 to 6.6 on the gross, some normal stuff there. But let's hop into today's show. What is going on, man?
Hey!
Hey, thank you for making me wear a suit since I didn't think I'd get another chance to wear it anytime soon.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm a hostage to this thing as well now that I'm a CEO.
Well, let's get right into it, man. How did you get into logistics and how did you end up wearing a suit? Because I feel like they didn't start in the same place. You know?
Absolutely not, bro. Oh, man. So I got into logistics because honestly, I went through a lot of sexual and physical abuse growing up, and it left me really lost, not knowing what I wanted to do with my life. And I gained a bunch of weight through a bad series of relationships. So I got 360 pounds. I was this big dude working this desk job for a company called...
How tall are you for 360
pounds? 6 feet. 6. I had to remember.
You're 6 feet. Yeah, I mean, that is heavy, man. I mean, I'm 6'4", 6'5". I hit about 300 at my heaviest, so 360 is like...
Dude, it was big.
Serious, unhealthy situation. So what was your first job? You got into truck driving.
Yeah, so I got into truck driving and I started working at Everett Express. Got my training there, moved on to Transport America, started teaming with my now wife. And from there, we went to Boyle Transportation.
Okay, wait a second. Let's slow this down for a second. So you got into the first trucking company, you got your CDL in their company with them, and then continued to drive for them as a company driver, I would assume.
No. So I started my career at Georgia Piedmont Technical College. I wanted to go to a tech college to get my CDL so that somebody didn't own me when I got into the industry and I could move around when I wanted to.
Yeah, that's fair. So you got your CDL and then you hopped in as a company driver to start out, I'm assuming?
Yeah, I hopped in as a company driver.
What were you doing? Drive-in, reefer, flatbed? I was drive-in.
I was starting with drive-in.
Drive-in, okay. All right, so where did you go from there? How many months was the first operation? I mean, how long is your driving career, you know?
My driving career is about 8 years.
8 years. Wow. Okay. So the first one, something happened. You moved on to the second one. You met your wife and became a driving team with your now wife.
Yeah. So going into this, my wife was my girlfriend, right?
Okay.
So we wanted to be able to team drive together. And we realized that neither of us had a clue what we were doing. And if we tried to sleep, right? Yeah, sleep while the other person was driving, it wasn't going to happen. We had trust, but we didn't have that much trust. So we drove
So
separately.
did you get your CDLs together? Was that like a plan to do together from the start?
It was.
Okay, so you guys were like, we're in this relationship, we're gonna go get our CDLs and we're gonna start driving trucks.
Yep. That's how it
That's
started.
wild. Yeah, that's a crazy one. Yeah. Okay, so you guys became a team and you didn't really trust each other because you were both new. It was kind of like the blind leading the blind. And I mean, how did that go? How was the first year of being a truck driver? Like, what were some things you liked, some things you didn't like? I mean, how did that first year kind of go for you?
Man, that takes me back. The first year was hell. I think the first year is hell for everyone. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and I was figuring it out every single day.
Yeah, I can completely see that. I mean, my biggest fear with driving a truck would be just reversing the trailer. I feel like going in a straight, forwards wouldn't be too bad. But I feel like getting into shippers, getting out of receivers, like just getting into the dock would probably be where my biggest fear is. But take me through life on the road, because obviously, aside from getting into a dock, I mean, life on the road, was that your first situation being, on the road like that?
It was. I didn't know what to expect. And going back to what you said about the backing, my experience was that when I started backing, I did really, really bad at it because I kept trying to think about the process instead of just doing the process. And I was the worst student in the class at Georgia Piedmont Tech. They thought I was going to fail out and that they would have to just give up on me. But you
made it through.
Yeah, I got it at the very end. But life on the road wasn't easy. Like, I struggled to balance my weight, my health, my life, and understand how to navigate, how to keep all those things together.
What kind of lanes were you guys running? Were you OTR multiple weeks, or were you home every second weekend? Or, I mean, how was your guys' schedule with home time?
So originally in the beginning, I'd say it was 3 weeks out and then like a weekend off. But when we got into teaming and we were really over the road, we were doing 2 months out at a time because we got our groove in. We knew what we were doing. We liked saving money and we put all our stuff in storage. So we got away. Yeah, did that thing where you live over the road and then eventually saved up enough money to become owner operators. And then we just stayed out all year long. Put everything in storage.
Yeah, I mean, because I've thought about that situation. I've tried to put myself, in the driver's shoes as much as I can as, a dispatcher and a carrier. And I always thought to myself, it didn't make sense for some of my drivers. Like, I had one guy who was paying like $3,000 a month rent somewhere in like the New York area. And he was home like every second or third weekend for a day or two. And I was thinking, like, if I was to be a truck driver for the first year, maybe two, I would probably not rent an apartment. I would probably fully live out of the truck because it's financially just makes the most sense. But take me through what that feels like, once you gave up, your wherever you guys were living and committed to the truck. I mean, how does that weigh on you mentally?
It didn't weigh on us. I thought we were cool.
I was just having fun. Yeah, this is awesome. I'm a truck driver. I've seen it in the country. Like, just didn't even think about it.
It was the opposite. I was proud of it. So I'd walk into the grocery store, right? Whenever we'd go and pick up our groceries to put in the fridge. And I'd be like, I love what I do. I live in my truck. I save so much money. You should join trucking. You can live life on the road and have a future.
You were like an advocate for this position. You loved it.
I went so hardcore. I was telling everybody that they should do it like it was the gospel. Like, put your life in storage, get on the road, make some money, make some investments, take control, see the country. Like, I got really into it.
Okay, so then what changed? I mean, or how long? Actually, let me rephrase that question. How long did that enthusiasm last for? I mean, you said you had an 8-year driving career. That was year 2 or year 1, maybe.
No,
I mean, how long? How did it go? How did long did that enthusiasm hold up for?
Well, so little oddball here, right? I've been driving for 8 years, and year one, I was already trying to figure out how to lose weight. Right? Year two, I'd gotten it down somewhat, but I stalled a little bit. Year three, I really nailed what I was doing. And in a year and a half from there, I lost all the weight. So I had this continual kind of scaling sense of optimism as I was trucking, because I'd gone from being broke and being really unhealthy to starting to make money and getting my health and figuring it out. Yeah. So
and you're doing all of this while living in a truck full time.
Yes.
It's like actually an awesome story. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
for all the
my
people that say,
happiness.
they can't do it, like you're the proof that it happened.
Yeah.
I mean, what year was this? When did you start your career as a driver?
I started my career as a driver in 2016.
2016. Okay, so fairly recently. I mean, you stopped being a driver.
Yeah. Well,
okay, let's not get
I
ahead
own
of
my
ourselves.
truck, right? I own a truck still,
Yeah.
and it's over the road, and my wife's driving in it with a driver that we've hired. So
No.
as I'm building this business, I have that sitting there, and I can get back in it whenever I want. And I've actually hired a team so that I could do this while I'm over the road. But
Yeah.
to answer your question,
Okay, let's keep it. Yeah, let's keep it on track here. We'll get into what you're doing now, but let's keep it on this thing. So you started as the driver and you started, living in the truck full time. You started losing weight. Let's go through some of the steps that, I mean, because obviously you realize, I have an issue, I have a health issue, and I'm going to start taking care of it. So as a truck driver, which I'm sure many of them are going to relate to that, hey, like, I mean, even a lot of office works, when a lot of people in logistics, just in general, that work in the office are not healthy and not really happy with where they are physically. So as a truck driver living in a truck full time, what were your steps and, what was kind of your roadmap to fixing that issue?
So I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a roadmap to start. Like, I had no freaking clue. My friend said, "Hey, Garrett." Yeah, it was just guess, right? So I guessed with adding running into my daily activities. Instead of sitting around on a 30-minute break, I'd run 45 minutes in place. And I started cutting out soda and bread because my friend told me to. And that lost me the first 100 pounds. But yeah, I lost control though. And
well,
I ended up gaining a lot back.
Okay, so your first steps basically were just to switch up your diet a little bit, like no more soda, no more bread. I mean, that's two very simple, basic things that you can cut out of your lifestyle. I mean, me, for example, I switched my diet about 3-4 months ago, and I wasn't really drinking a lot of soda, but just changing your diet and being mindful of that is like a huge step. A lot of people think you need to start exercising right away. I mean, good advice to a truck driver would be just stop drinking soda, man. Just switch it into carbonated water or regular water more. I mean, those are the beginning steps. Those are, the first little things you can start to do that don't require any physical exertion. That's just a mindful choice.
Yeah, I agree with you. And what really got me to lose the rest of the weight, because I lost 200 pounds, was to understand that diet is the most important thing that you can control. Because if you're monitoring the calories in versus the calories out, and you understand how much energy that you burn in a day just existing, you can modulate the math, right? You can determine the outcome. And that's what got me to 155 pounds, was getting into using a barcode scanner, getting into using a calorie tracker. I don't use one anymore, right? Because I've developed the unconscious habits and the understanding of, that's enough food, right? But I had to use one to get to that point.
So take me through that. I mean, what's a good barcode scanner app that maybe a truck driver could test out? How do you implement it? I mean, how is that? I mean, I've never used it. I've never thought about it. Luckily, I grew up, for the most part, with some good habits. My mom used to be in fitness, and I mean, how does a barcode app kind of work for a truck driver? How is it implemented into your day?
Yeah, so a lot of the more modern barcode scanners have food databases, right? So most food has a barcode if it's packaged. You pick it up. A good app is Lose It. That's the one I use. And you scan the barcode and it'll populate the calories and the macros in the food. And then throughout the day as you're entering food, how many calories you've consumed, how much protein you've had, how much fat, how many carbs. And what I found really interesting was that almost every food is in the database of Lose It. If I said Wendy's burger, no bun, I could find it in there. right? Even though a burger doesn't have a barcode, even though fast food doesn't have a barcode, there's no excuse. You could still put it in.
Nice. So Lose It is a good app. So basically for truck drivers, anybody watching this, you just basically want to be in a calorie deficit, right? And I mean, what was for you at that weight? What was like you said, you had said there's a number of calories per day you lose just by existing. What is the number, a rough number for most people that they need to be under?
That's a really good question and a difficult one to answer. For me,
yeah, it's different for everybody.
Yeah. For me, I'll say in particular, my magic number was 1100 because I was just existing as I was losing weight. I was burning about 14 to 1700 calories a day, depending on my activity level. So if I wanted to stay in a steady deficit where I was losing a pound of body fat a week, I needed to be around 1100.
1100 intake calories per day.
Yeah, 1100 intake.
Wow. That's not a lot, man. Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can see how that can become difficult. I just went through my whole diet, man. I'm doing like 3,000 intake a day.
Well, you're trying to get swole, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get bigger. So 3,000 a day is just an excuse to eat meat all day, basically. But okay, so 1,100 intake on a day as a truck driver. So you switched from no soda, you started using the barcode scanner, no bread. You started paying attention to the numbers. I mean, besides the 30-minute break runs, where did it start really coming off? Or was this a long process?
It was a really long process until I'd taken everything, implemented the tracking, implemented intermittent fasting, started eating whole
Let's go over
foods.
that quickly. Let's talk about intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
How did you implement it? What's the simplest way to explain that to somebody that would watch this back?
Yeah, so the easiest way to implement intermittent fasting is to determine how many hours in a day you're going to allow yourself to eat and just eat in that window. I did a 20 and a 4-hour fasting window. So no eating for 20 hours. And then I would eat in a 4-hour window. I found it was really easy for me as a truck driver to be disciplined with that because I was super busy. And if I could just have ready food on hand for my 30-minute break or when I could get to a stop, I could easily sit down, prepare it, and eat one whole nutritious meal, whether it's salad with grilled chicken, whether it's a salad with salmon, whether it's canned beans and fruit and vegetables. I just needed to make sure that I had everything already set up so I could grab it, go, and had no excuses.
Yeah, I think that's honestly preparation is a big thing that a lot of people miss. And then they get very overwhelmed because the food is not ready. It takes time to cook it. And my biggest advice to anybody, just in any like human being that needs to eat food that they cook, like cook enough food for 2-3 days. Don't cook every single. I don't like to cook every single day. If you're gonna cook something, try to prepare it, store it for a day or two. I mean, you could fry up enough chicken for 2-3 days on the road. You can just keep it on Tupperware and you're good.
Well, it's pretty controversial, Alex. What I did, a lot of good drivers like warm food. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm weird like that. I'm fine if the food's already prepped.
I think a lot of people like warm food, not just truck
drivers. I know. A little bit of an oddball here. What I do is I get a thing of smoked salmon from like Walmart, right? And I just shove it in the back of the fridge. And I'd have some vegetables, I'd have some berries, I'd have some nuts. And I just pull it all out, throw it on a plate, eat it, and be good.
Yeah. So, I mean, basically our number one thing or your number one thing in that weight loss journey as a truck driver, living full time in your truck was just taking care of your diet. I mean, just cooking your food, paying attention to how much you're eating, when you're eating, no soda, no bread. I mean, those are all like very simple things. That I mean, what were you drinking all day? You just drank water all day.
Water, man.
I mean, that's
water
all I do.
I
just drink water and coffee. Yeah, that's the only thing I drink also. So, I mean, for truck drivers, those are the first steps. I mean, just switch up your diet, stay away from the sodas and the bread. Let's go back to your driving career. How many years were you living full time in the truck?
I have to think about that. I believe we lived 5 years full time.
You lived 5 straight years with your wife in the truck.
Bro. Yep.
Wow, that is actually pretty insane to me. I mean, how do I don't even know how do I even like I mean, I know a lot of people are doing that. It's just rare to talk to them, right? I mean, you don't really get
What
a chance
blows
to
your
interview
mind
them
about it?
often. What blows my mind about it is just the living space, right? And I mean, like you have a small space for 5 straight years. I mean, you're with your wife, which is obviously better than being a team driver with some random person. So I mean, you had like the companionship, so you weren't really missing your family because you had your wife with you, which is awesome. I mean, that's a great situation to be in. But 5 straight years on the road, man. I mean, were you guys grabbing hotels along the way? Like sometimes, like
Occasionally, right? So, it's cold. We're in Utah and there's salt everywhere and it's gross. We decided to get a hotel because you can get a warm bath, right? Maybe eat at
yeah,
the
of
Black
course.
Bear Diner or some nice restaurant, right? But in
Yeah, it's just
general,
crazy to me, man. 5 straight years, fully in the truck, fully OTR, no place like the truck is the home. I mean, it's a sacrifice, but like you said, before you got into trucking, you weren't very well off financially, you weren't very well off, physically with your health, and now all of a sudden, you got some money in your pocket, you're losing weight. So, I mean, for you, that was a transformative period, and it did you a lot of good being a truck driver, which is what seems to be the opposite of what happens to a lot of people with their health as a truck driver.
I think that's true. And I have a lot of loyalty to the trucking industry as a whole because I felt like it gave me access to a person of my choosing because it built this environment of pressure and challenge and discipline. And I was able to make the decision, do I let that roll over me or do I let this propel me? And I
Yeah.
chose I let this propel me. I mean, 5 years over the road was not hard because I'm
I think
serious.
that's a pretty controversial statement, man.
It was not hard because what I found is that I could take the time to listen to hundreds of audiobooks. I found that I could take the time to enjoy the journey, right? And at the same time, I just liked the small space. It was manageable, right? I have ADD to an extent. And so if you put me in a large environment, it's a harder thing for me to manage than a small environment.
So you liked your small space, everything was where it needed to be.
Yeah,
You were
man.
calm, listened
Yeah.
to your books, enjoyed the journey. I mean, all of my drivers throughout the years would tell me, like for their first 1, 2, 3 years, like I love being a truck driver. I love seeing the country. I love meeting a bunch of random people throughout the days. And obviously it comes with its challenges, but there are a lot of benefits to being a truck driver. And I feel like, most people dwell mostly on the negatives. And that's kind of a good thing because they dwell on the negatives so we could try to improve them and so we can try to make the job, a better place. But at the same time, I feel like there does need to be, some positives of being a truck driver. And there's tons of them. Like you said, I mean, for you, it changed your life. Like it made you a better person financially, physically, mentally, just in every sense you thrived in that environment. And I know that's not for everybody, but obviously you're not the only person who, if you don't have a great direction in your life, if you don't know what your purpose might be, I mean, truck driving is a great career to look into. And it does afford you the ability to be well off financially in the long term versus, maybe working minimum wage at a Walmart or something. I mean, it is a
Yeah.
career. So, I mean, truck driving is a good job if you don't really know what you want to do in your life. And I mean, I've always recommended it to people that told me, like, hey, I don't know, maybe you're like 25, 30, 35, and you're like, I don't know, what am I doing? I don't like the job that I currently hold. It's like, hey, just go get your CDL, see if
Yeah,
you like
bro.
living
Find
in a
yourself on the
box like
road.
Garrett. Yeah.
I have a friend
I
of
mean,
mine. You should interview him at some point. His name is James Hazelton. James is amazing. He is part of a nonprofit called Free World. And Free World is an organization that helps felons get their CDLs and gives them training and pays for that training and their transportation the whole way. That man is amazing. I love him to death.
yeah, I
And
like that
he is
idea.
a
That's a
hoot.
solid idea.
And inside of that, right, you're saying CDLs can be access to freedom, access to a better
Yeah.
life. And actively as an organization, they're helping end recidivism and hooking up these people who have made some bad decisions in the past with entirely new lives so that they can turn them around, break free of poverty, and become the person that they should have been.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with it. I think being a truck driver is a great job for ex-cons and stuff like that because, like you said, they've made their bad choices. Obviously, it's in the past for them. They dealt with their situations. They've paid the price for it. And what better job than, you're like alone in a truck a lot of the time. I mean, like it's not like a high risk environment. You're not working at like a public school or something. Like you're just in a truck
Right.
80-90% of the time. You're alone in that truck. Like, I mean, what kind of better job could there be to help people out than being a truck driver, right? Because it's not like you're putting them into high risk situations, into situations where things might go wrong. I mean, when you're in a truck, you're just in the truck, you're chilling, it's you and the road. And
Yep.
I mean, I do agree with that being a solid option for people getting out of prison. And I do want to interview him, actually. That's awesome. I like that idea. So take me through why you got out of the truck, which I guess will bring us into what are you doing now? I mean, you basically pitched it to me as a doctor in a box, and we had the clickbait title of the male performance enhancing pills that are part of the doctor box. So take me through, what is your company and what are you guys doing to help truck drivers' health now?
Yeah, so after losing 200 pounds, I got really passionate about telling everyone how to positively affect their health and wellness. But that didn't really seem to make a difference for everyone. And I had a friend who got on weight loss medication and it worked for them. And I was keeping in touch with them. And I had this big aha moment about 9 months ago where I was at a truck stop and this guy who weighed well over 400 pounds got out of his truck. And as he was fueling his diesel, he'd taken the pump off the handle and he was moving it towards the tank. And by the time he got into the tank, he was out of breath. And it was terrifying to watch him collapse on the ground and to see him hit the side of his truck, panicking. And I rushed over and his wife came out of the truck. Sorry, give me a sec. His wife came out of the truck and was looking down at him on the ground in a puddle of diesel. And it just clicked that the medicines existed, the doctor networks existed. I had money, and this guy in the ground could have been me. And that woman up there could have been my wife if I hadn't taken control of my health. And what's been working for me isn't working for everyone. And I had to do something about that. So I started figuring it out. I started calling doctors on the phone saying, I have this idea. I need to make healthcare more affordable and more accessible to truck drivers. How do I do this? And I got a whole lot of no's until I stumbled across a medical law firm and they talked to me about how to build the architecture. They invested their time in me and I paid them after that to help me hire an FDA agent, compliance specialist. We brought in a doctor network. And now we're able to do weight loss, help truckers quit smoking, help them with their sexual wellness. And the thing that I'm most proud of is that we've built the ability to make an urgent care in a bag. So we're able to have a trucker come on and answer a medical intake. Based on their allergies and medical history, a doctor will prescribe 16 essential prescription medicines that can help them treat over 50 different common illnesses and infections over the road. And that part was inspired because I had a friend who got a UTI while I was trucking. He was trucking and he ended up getting a septic kidney infection from that UTI. He can't drive anymore. It gave him...
And like you said, you had explained this to me before when we had talked a little bit previously. You had said, these little things turn into big things because there's either not a time or there's too much red tape to get a prescription for something so minor. And then this guy's entire life changed because there was no infrastructure to help him out.
It's really hard because I fucking love trucking. I really do. But we struggle with access to basic health.
Like basic human needs. I mean, take me through that process. How is it? Because that was something when you'd mentioned it to me, I never thought about it too much because I guess most of my drivers were pretty healthy. I mean, I never had to think about, them on doctor's visits. And usually they would just do that stuff when they're on home time. And I mean, how is it when you're a truck driver and you get sick or you need to see a doctor? How does that kind of work as a truck driver? Because you're always moving, you're always on to the next freight, you're always under some load. I mean, how is the current infrastructure for truck drivers to get a prescription?
It's just like that, Alex. You're always on the move. Like for me,
Hey,
if
just
I were to
pushing
get
it off
sick,
next day, next day.
push it off. It's just too inconvenient, right? Like you could be getting pneumonia, and this happens, right? Because you have a respiratory infection, you have bronchitis, and it goes out of control, and you're coughing, and you get a pickup, and then you got to get to the next pickup, and you try and use your company afforded telehealth service, and they say, oh well, the next appointment is available in 5 hours, right? And you say, okay, I'll book that appointment, and then you're driving down the road, and then you go through an area of bad signal or something. You miss that appointment. You have to try again, and maybe you get an appointment, right? Maybe you're lucky, or maybe you find a doctor's office nearby that you're able to fit a 72 freaking foot long vehicle in. And,
right. Yeah, that's another problem. Yeah, truck parking at a doctor's office doesn't really probably work too often.
Yeah, and so maybe all those things align, right? Then you have to find a pharmacy to get the medication, and you have to take a prescription.
Yeah.
And on the telehealth appointments, oh my God, dude, what'll happen is they'll be like, okay, well, where do you want us to send this prescription to? And there better be a pharmacy nearby, and you better have enough time to pick it up. And they better have whatever it is in stock. Because if they don't, well, you're going to have to go through the appointment process again because they have to send the prescription somewhere.
Yeah. So obviously the current model is outdated. Obviously it's such an inconvenience. Like I'm a kind of person like that too, where if something is kind of a minor inconvenience, I'll just be like, tomorrow, next day. But when you're doing this with your health, I mean, little things will turn into big things, and they will be life-changing problems that could have been solved with, a pill or two of some prescription, minor prescription. So take me through. Obviously, you guys have built the FDA approvals, the infrastructure, all of these things. Take me through how would a truck driver implement you guys? Like, from what's the protocol from start to finish? Like, once they find out about you, they give you a call, they send you an email. I mean, how does the registration work for a truck driver?
Yeah, so they come to truckersbodyshop.com, spelled exactly like you think it. And what they do is they come on the website, and there's going to be a carousel of different things that we help with. ED is one of those things. But let's say...
Yeah, okay, so this is all very serious. I just want to take a pause to make the joke about the male performance enhancement pills. I had to make the joke. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. We've spoken about why it's necessary and the circumstances of why it's necessary. But every time I think of you, I'm just going to think about Viagra and Cialis. Those aren't the medications you're prescribing. That's just what you're going to be in my head for the rest of my life.
Bro.
I hope you're fine with that.
I am. It's okay. And so it is Viagra, right? So we prescribe Viagra. We prescribe Cialis. But I will say, before I talk about the process, to deviate on this really funny point here, when you get access to generic and compounding pharmacies and their manufacturing services, you begin to understand that you can pretty much do anything that you want, right? I can take Viagra and I could put it into a breath spray. I can take Viagra. I can put it into a little strip that goes onto your tongue. The possibilities for making a man stand up are limitless.
Endless. You just gotta bust out that spray quick, from those movies, that breath freshener, and just good to go, straight home. I can't. Okay, let's get back on topic. You're gonna be the Viagra guy in my head for the rest of my life, knowing you, which is fine, and it's all fine. But let's get back to a serious issue, which is what you guys are solving, which is truckers' health and their inability to get prescriptions. So you guys, you mentioned, so it's the ED stuff, it's quitting smoking, it's weight loss.
Yep.
And then you have the box that comes with preventative maintenance for whenever you get some minor kind of
issues. So urgent care in a bag, right? So what happens is a doctor will prescribe these medications based on the understanding of issues that commonly arise over the road, like flu, pneumonia, strep throat, infections, fungal infections, pretty much everything that you would encounter. And you come on the website, you fill out that intake, you answer questions about your allergies and your history, and then the doctor decides whether you're eligible or whether certain medications need to be substituted. And then you pay, and what's going to happen is you're going to schedule the delivery of your medications. So let's say you're over the road, you know that in 2 weeks you're going to be off, and you want that to be the time that you're going to pick up your medications and get your Medi-Ready kit. You just let them know inside of the field when they should be scheduling that delivery, and they'll make it sure that it's there when you're there. And we do the same thing with refills. You just tell us where it needs to be and when it needs to be there with a little bit of advance notice, and we'll make it happen.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, how does the registration process look? They just get in touch with you guys, they go on the website, they fill out the intake. And,
Yep.
I mean, that's kind of it.
Simple. That's kind of it.
Perfect. So, I mean, take me through kind of what your next 6 to 12 months looks like. How active are you guys? Obviously, it's a newer company from what I understand. I mean, what does the day-to-day look like now, and what's the goals for the next 6 to 12 months?
Oh, man. So right now, we just got back from Women in Trucking, and that was a huge hit. We made our
I had the
debut
picture. I have a picture about it, but it didn't want to load into the studio. I'm just laughing about it because you had a funny hat on, but the picture didn't want to come into the studio.
Oh, hold on. I've got the hat right here. Give me a sec.
But you got the hat, yeah.
I got this.
So this is the real hat that he wore at Women in Trucking conference, and like he has a picture. Like this is actually the hat he wore, which is absolutely I love it.
Yeah. So funny story about this before I answer your question, right? So this hat is made with a process called null bending. So it's this weird dead art. And my dad,
bro, don't hit me with this. So what is it? Null bending, like NULL?
Yeah. So I was recovering from loose skin surgery after losing the 200 pounds at my dad's place, and my dad is an engineer who just picks up dead arts and learns.
Okay, I don't even want to cut you off. I want to hear this, but like I've always thought about that. So what is that surgery? Like how does that go? How's the recovery time? I mean, like they just obviously remove,
dude. Oh,
like
it was
the extra
rough.
skin. I understand the concept, it's in the name, but how much, like just what's the process of that? Because obviously our goal, your goal, our goal, everybody, you know, guys like Lombard, guys like Nick Klingensmith, like we all want truck drivers to get healthier. And there's obviously a counterculture. I see it on LinkedIn of some truck drivers where they're like, well, you guys don't understand the life of a truck driver. You guys don't understand, and you want us to get healthy. And then I'm sitting down with a guy like you. You were OTR 8 years. You were in the truck 5 straight years. So I'm happy to hear it come out. And even guys like Lombard was in the truck, man. Like, so you guys are just advocating for humans to be healthier. And I don't understand really the pushback.
Yeah, I don't either, man. And Lombard's amazing. I love him.
Yeah, I love Lombard. Great guy. Him and Klingensmith, man. Those are like the two like health guys. And Nick Balazs, he's like, if you don't know him, you gotta hit him up. He's my boy. Like that guy.
I'll hit him up. So to answer your question, how was that surgery? It was rough. You know, the IV going into my body actually hit a nerve when they put it in before they're sedating me. And so I had a parasympathetic nerve reaction, and my heart rate went from 90 to 30, and I almost fainted even before they got me in the operating room because they missed and they hit that nerve directly.
Ooh.
It was rough.
I hate needles so much.
Yeah, I know, man. So they got me in, and they did the surgery. I came out. It was a 2-month recovery process where I could barely move. I was wrapped up. They had drains in my sides, and my wife was having to constantly pull the fluid out of me and change it out. Was it worth it? Yes. Was it hard? Oh, yeah. It was hard and expensive.
No, I just want to hear the truths about this, right? Because like you said, that man that collapsed, the guy that kind of put you on this path to help the truck drivers, like that's the reality for a lot of these guys. Like they are at that point where if they stick to these regimens, if they want to, you know, make these healthy choices, like that's eventually what it's going to lead to for them, right? Because a lot of them are past the point of no return in terms of avoiding a surgery like that.
Well, so the loose skin surgery is an elective, right? So you lose the
I know
weight.
it's an elective, yeah, but I mean, obviously at a certain point, like, I mean, obviously, like, I know it's an elective, but you would want to do it, right? Obviously, if you put in all that effort, and then at the end, you would obviously want to feel like your best version of yourself. So I just wanted to make sure that whoever watches this knows how tough it is, because as an elective, maybe you just wouldn't want to do it. Because that's why you're the first person I've ever had the chance to ask that question to. A 2-month recovery period sounds like
It was brutal. It was really brutal. I'd say it was definitely worth it in the end. But the reason the hat exists because I had nothing better to do during that time than for my dad to sit here and teach me this dead art that predates knitting and crochet that was made by the Vikings.
So how does it work?
So null bending involves a needle, right? And then you take yarn and you work over the needle in a radius. You pull it through your thumb. It's like netting, and that's how the hat exists.
Did you make that hat?
Yeah, dude, I made the hat.
All right, that's much cooler then.
I
So
made
you
like
basically
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a
you made
testament to
the
my weight
hat.
loss.
You made the hat while recovering from the surgery from losing a bunch of weight, and it's from a practice that predates knitting that the Vikings used. So you made a Viking hat. All right, man. I'll respect it. I'll respect the hat much more than I did when you first put it on. And so, I'll give you much more respect for your Viking hat that you made with your own hands. So I'll give you that.
Yeah, no.
So let's go over the conference. I mean, what is your guys' client base today? You guys are only helping truck drivers. That's the main goal. That's your guys' market.
I wouldn't say we're only helping truck drivers, because what we're finding is that truck drivers are going to have the same bad health outcomes as their families, right? And if we're not helping truck drivers and their families, they're going to struggle to take control and keep control of their health. So right now, our client base is, I'd say, a few hundred, because we just got out the door. And
what was opening day for you guys? When did you guys like fully, I mean, kind of open the doors?
Opening day for us was about a month and a half ago.
Oh, okay. So you guys are like new. Like,
yeah, we're new. It took me until about October 29th to launch.
Nice. Okay, so you guys are brand new. You went to the Women in Trucking Conference. You want to help the truckers and their families. So how does that process look from the family standpoint? And how does the network of doctors work? I mean, is that something you guys deal with all of that? That's all back end. That's all your
all back end.
Yeah, that's amazing. So basically the driver only has to deal with you guys, and you guys put everything else in place for them.
Yeah, so they are assigned a doctor, right? So let's say that somebody wants to get on our website and quit smoking. So they'll fill out the medical intake, they get in touch with the doctor, they find out if they're able to be prescribed and undergo the medical therapy. And what'll happen is then they'll get notifications that tell them they're eligible, they'll schedule their shipment, and they'll have instant 24/7 access to their doctor. If anything comes up, if they have questions, if they're looking for advice about whatever journey we're helping them get on. So it's just like instant messaging through their portal.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just accessible, done through the phone, just everything a truck driver would ever need. What does the next 6 to 12 months look like for you guys? You guys going to be just conferencing, getting into some marketing? I mean, how are you guys planning to execute and get drivers to kind of take it serious? I mean, obviously, like you said, having a box of prescription medication that will save, your health and future and create little problems and get rid of them before they become big problems is a great thing. I mean, I would like to see you guys maybe in some capacity be able to be like a mandatory thing, like every truck driver, every truck needs to have a kit like this. Like, this seems like a public health issue for truck drivers to me,
So we're very loud about the same thing, where we think that this is the bare minimum necessary, and it's crazy that we haven't had these. So when we were at Women in Trucking, as we were displaying our wares, showing things off at our booth, I had a driver come up to me and said, "This is crazy that this hasn't existed before, because my father died of pneumonia in his truck, and if he had basic access to he'd still be alive.
It actually drives me crazy because I've been in this industry for years now, and I've obviously been on the carrier side for most of that, like literally 95% of that. And it actually drives me crazy that I've never thought of this, right? Because unless you're faced with a problem, you're not going to think about it. And I think that's how a lot of these like avoidable deaths are happening. And I feel like we need to make a situation where it's like every truck needs a fire extinguisher, every truck needs, you know, like a safety vest. Like, why doesn't every truck just need some medications to keep the drivers from dying, you know? Like ultimately, I mean,
yeah. So to answer your question, next 6 months, we're really excited. We're partnering with Truck Suite, software company, and there's some really big things on the horizon that go well beyond our current capabilities, well beyond just an urgent care in the bag. We're talking about medical accessibility in all circumstances. Now, there's NDAs in place. There's stuff I can't talk about right now, but it's really exciting. It's a lot bigger than anyone could have ever imagined.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, you explained that, you know, you're at a truck stop, you're a truck driver, you've been a truck driver for, you know, almost a decade at this point, and you see a man almost die right in front of your eyes from preventable issues and not taking care of himself. And you've seen the countless casualties of not having basic prescription medication available to a truck driver. Like, that's lost lives that have occurred over this. And I'm happy to hear that you're doing it from this medical standpoint, because most of the time we have a lot of good advocates in logistics for trucking health and trucking weight loss and their physical health, but not many of us have ever thought about, you know, the prescription drug side of things and how, you know, they don't really have access to that in an easy way. And also they'd be put in a lot of situations, if they're like you guys were, OTR with no home, OTR fully in the truck, they'd be placed in a lot of situations where it's like, I need to either go get my prescription or I need to lose this load for today. And not a lot of people can make the financial choice of giving up a day's work, or, you know, putting a load on hold, or getting fined. You know, you'll get a freight guard these days, you'll get fined from the broker. I mean, giving up freight for your health is not even an option right now financially for most truck drivers. So
no, people can barely slow down with the way the market has been and the amount of overhead they've had to take on.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's awesome that you guys are taking a health approach from a prescription drug, you know, from a medical standpoint, not just from an exercise standpoint. We're not to diminish the exercise stuff in any way. That's obviously very important. But this is an issue I've never really thought about, you know.
So we love all the people in the wellness space because we understand that driver health is a wide range of issues.
I mean, I don't know who said it, but it's a disease at this point. The numbers point, you know, it's in disease territory. Like, drivers' health is so bad, it has quite literally become, you know, like a disease,
an epidemic.
More of them, like more of them are unhealthy than healthy, and that's something we need to combat, right? And I mean, my biggest thing is, I think it needs to come from the diet, the food, and truck stops need to be like legally obligated to offer, like, you know, some healthier stuff, or like some home cooked stuff, or like give them like a stove that they're allowed to use or something. I don't know, man. I'm spitballing here.
You know, I've got some thoughts on that, right? So diet was the main way that I took control of my health, right? So I'm a big fan of that. And diet also helped my dad reverse his heart disease. So there's different kinds of healthy diets. They all have different utilities. So my dad read a book called How to Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. He eliminated all animal fats from his diet. He eliminated all oils from his diet, eliminated all animal protein. And my dad did this for 1.5 years, and he got rid of all the plaque in his arteries. Your body has an amazing potential to heal itself. So he no longer has heart disease. But the thing is, you know, his diet, someone like a truck driver could just do in their truck really easily. All they need is cans of beans. All they need is oatmeal. All they need is to get their hands on some fresh or dried vegetables. All they need is a little bit of fruit, some nuts, and some berries, and stay away from everything else. Do that for some time, right? You know, your average really overweight trucker can quickly take control of their health if they go out of their way, to not rely on what's in a truck stop, right? They go out of their way to try and stock their truck with healthy foods that are nutrient dense, not calorically dense. And I think that's the biggest thing. I've talked to people about this, and truck stops should have more healthy options. They should do this, they should do that. And I agree with you, because 98% of stuff in there is shit.
I'm not allowed to be in the position of telling truck drivers what they should be doing, having never driven a truck. And I don't ever want to be the guy that says I understand what being a truck driver is like. So to hear it come from you, somebody who's driven a truck for many, many years, to say you can stock your truck and keep your own food and you can do it. I mean, that's something I like to hear, because that's always been my opinion as well, right? I mean, I cook 95% of the food that I eat comes from my house. I mean, if I was in a truck, I would just have the portable stove. I mean, everything I cook is in one pan, basically. I just have one frying pan. I make everything in it. I mean, I like to hear, your approach, because if you want to be healthy and if you want to stock your truck, that is obviously always going to be the most cost-effective option, as well as the most healthy option, rather than the debate of truck stops should be offering healthier food, which they should. But
they should easily.
Neither
right?
here nor there.
I mean, you could go into a large trucking group on Facebook and say, hey, there should be healthier options, right? And then you're going to get 99% of people in that group. They're going to say, oh, yeah, absolutely. They treat us like shit. They feed us garbage. And then you're going to have that 1% that's really loud that says, stop whining, baby. It's capitalism. They sell what makes money.
Yeah, but where's the 1% just saying hey, put some cans of beans in your truck and some bacon?
Yeah,
you're the 1%. You're that guy. No, I mean, like I said, I don't ever want to come across as somebody that understands what a truck driver deals with on a day-to-day, because I don't. I understand the job. I understand being a dispatcher. I understand booking them freight. I understand the costs involved in running a truck. What I don't understand is being physically inside of a truck, and that is something I will never try to say that I understand, because I've never gone through it, and I mean, maybe I never will. And I think anybody that tries to tell truck drivers how their life is that have never driven a truck just need to just kind of get out of here with that.
Yeah, man.
That's something you'll never understand.
I wholly agree with you on that. And what's frustrating to me too is that, I've done all this. I don't think that the people who struggle to make healthy decisions are bad or weak or stupid. I think that a lot of us are super overworked and super overwhelmed. And we're an industry where we're really about self-sacrifice. I mean, you're talking about people who spend 70 hours a week working, weeks on the road away from their family. If you're in this industry for more than a year, at this point, you've accepted and taken pride in your work ethic. You've accepted and taken pride in the fact that you make sacrifices for your family and for your future. And so a lot of us, when it comes to even the urgent care or visiting a doctor or taking control of our health, we're not big to complain, because it's baked into who we are to work hard and not do that. And so there's this stigma that we really have inside of our culture that is around that. And I think that I want it super clear that, I'm not special. I'm not an exception. One day at a time, I just decided I was going to figure out how to live better and healthier. And I couldn't get it all at once. It was overwhelming trying to understand it all at once. I think it's little steps, right? Little steps. And
like you said earlier, no soda. Step one. Maybe on week 2, no bread now. And it's building blocks. Fitness is a lifestyle, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And people, I think, they wake up one day and they just start changing their entire life, and they start going really strict, no candy, no cigarettes, no alcohol, no this, no that.
I encourage that.
They do it all at once. And they do it all at once, and then they just burn out, and 3 weeks later they're right back to however they were living, because they were miserable. And I think a fitness outlook from a health standpoint, it's a marathon, man. If you want to have a Coca-Cola, have a Coca-Cola, but don't have 15 of them. And maybe you only drink a Coca-Cola on a Thursday instead of every day. Or you got to make little
good way of saying it, man. Fitness little moderation. Marathon. That's quotable.
I mean, it is, right? Because I used to burn myself out with it being really strict with myself. And now I do it like this. Monday to Friday, I'm working. Like you said, we're in logistics, it's burning you out. You're doing a lot of stuff all the time. So Monday to Friday, I eat very clean, very healthy. Saturday and Sunday, I eat whatever I want, man. Like anything that I want. And I still eat healthy if I like normally. But like if I want to have a burger and a plate of pasta, I'm like, I don't care, man. Because in the grand scheme of things, 3 years of being healthy Monday to Friday is going to be better. And on my weekends, I can do what I want, And it's just the building blocks. And I think also on top of the trucker health problems, it's like you said, like the education on nutrition and fitness is not very good. I mean, I was born in Canada, born and raised in Canada. And I mean, like, we all went through it in school. Like, this is the food pyramid, like eat 3 servings of vegetables. Like, that's not very practical advice. It's not cooking advice. It's not.
What is a serving anyway?
Yeah. Like just vague terms. They're like, they show you a piece of paper because they're legally obligated to, and then they send you out into the real world. And
at no point did the food pyramid have any impact or influence on my decisions ever.
Yeah, like not once, bro. Nah, I mean, it's just really sad, man, honestly, in the grand scheme of things, how uneducated people are and how much fitness is not talked about, not teach, it's just one of those things. Like nobody cares about it until it's too late. And most people don't start changing their lifestyle until something bad happens. And that's something.
Yeah. And I think that's a big thing about what we're doing that we care about is the fact that when your health is as out of control as it is for most truckers, those small issues, when you wait for them, if you have heart disease, if you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure, if you're obese, right? There's a huge load on your immune system already. It's like a simple infection can go out of control really fast.
Oh man, I know. It's a really tough topic because, like I said, I've been around all my drivers. I loved my drivers, man, when I was in the carrier side of things. I mean, I still know a lot of them. I still talk to a lot of them. And like you said, I think you said it the best about a minute or two ago, where if you've been a driver for X amount of years, you've accepted the sacrifices of that career path, and you're not seeing your family, being over the road, not having the best of health. And I think we definitely need to work on this as a community. And I think the drivers need a little bit more of an open mind, right? And I like that it comes from people like you. Like you lost, what was it, 200 pounds or 300 pounds in the truck? You lost 200 pounds while being an OTR truck driver. Like, how can anybody tell you that it's not possible? Like that's the thing. Like if I go out there and I start advocating for it, people are going to tell you've never been a truck driver, you don't know anything. And I can't fight with them about that because
and I did it while teaming. Truck didn't stop, bro.
Yeah, 200 pounds lost in a truck that moves 1,000 miles, 1,200 miles a day.
Yeah, bro.
I mean, yeah. That's it, man. I think that's a great place to leave it. Let's go back over your business plan again. If you want to give us your elevator pitch of who you guys are, what you're doing, and what you want to accomplish.
Sure. Are we not going to talk about my nickname?
Oh, we are. We still have lots of things, man. We have another 20 minutes, 15 minutes left of the show. So
beautiful.
That's the next part. We just want to get through your company's mission, your elevator pitch, and then we'll move into some really fun stuff.
Absolutely. So the 30,000 foot view is that there's barriers to healthcare access, whether it's scheduling, making appointments, whether it's trying to work inside of a traditional telehealth model, whether it's access to affordable medication. We eliminate those barriers. We make sure that truckers get what they need, when they need it, and so that they have it when it counts, when it matters.
Yeah, having it when it matters is the point. I mean, I'm really emotional talking about this with you because I love this industry, and this industry did the same thing that it did to you. I mean, it afforded me a financial freedom, and it afforded me, a place where I feel like I can make a difference in people's lives. And I mean, trucking and logistics is something that really resonates with me. And I mean, the truck drivers are are the core of that. Without them, there is no brokers, shippers, customers. Like, there's nothing for the regular person to buy at the store. And I think, they don't get the respect they deserve most of the time. And I'm just happy to hear people like you out there, and Lombard and Klingensmith. And I'm happy that we have people still fighting for the drivers. And that's it, man. I mean, let's move on before we both start.
We start crying.
Crying on a live podcast. But no, just like congratulations on what you guys are doing. I'm happy.
Thank you.
I hope you guys, go to the moon with the drivers, prescriptions and health situation.
We're on our way, man. And the farther we go, the more things that we can accomplish and do to make life easier for truckers.
It just kills me too, though, because like they don't help themselves so much of the time too, bro. Like truck drivers, they get on my nerves so much sometimes. And like,
that's why
I just want to help you, bro. Like, we're all just trying to help you guys. But let's move on before
we were talking to someone who I like to help myself, right? I think every truck driver likes to help themselves. So if you make it in such a way where, right, it's medicines in a box. You help yourself, bro.
Yeah. You don't have to even do anything. Here's some medicine just so you don't die one day. Like, you thank me later. You'll need this one day. Keep it in the truck. But
yeah.
All right. So moving out of this stuff, I want to get into what is your craziest logistics story or stories?
Oh my gosh. All right, bro. So my craziest logistics story is gonna come from Women in Trucking. So we showed up at Women in Trucking. We set up our booth, and I met with this amazing guy, Bob Perry. So Bob Perry has been in logistics, helping truck drivers lose weight for the last 30 freaking years, right? He's a legend. Yeah. He's known as the trucker trainer.
So he's the OG trucker health advocate.
Dude, like, he's tireless. Throughout the years, I don't even know, he's probably helped thousands of truck drivers take control of their health. And his content inspired me with common sense strength training, right? So I meet Bob in person for the first time at Women in Trucking. I'm so excited. It's like this fanboy moment, right? And so I'm talking to him, and I'm like, Bob, what's the advice you could give me to be good at networking at this expo? And he's like, well, I like to give out these Quest bars. Right. I like to, hand out my business card at the same time because people remember when you give them food. I said, it's a great idea. So I drove my rental car over to Whole Foods, and I grabbed all the bison, all the venison, all the beef, like high-end beef jerky, like minimally processed stuff I could. And then I showed up at my booth.
Nicest beef jerky.
Yeah, bro. So
we're not out here handing out donuts, man. We're advocating for health. We're not handing out Krispy Kreme donuts with business cards on.
So I sat down on my booth with my team, and James, who I talked to you about, was actually sitting there with us, and we're all taping my business cards to this beef jerky. And we're at the end of it. I should have known it was gonna get crazy real fast when he's like, Garrett, who are we giving all this meat to? Who are you giving your meat to? And I said, we're going to give it out at the networking event. So we did, right? I show up in the networking gala, speed networking. So you're in this room, and there's all these little tables, and all these leaders in logistics are going around giving their pitch on who they are, handing out a business card, and then someone rings a bell and you move to the next table. It's just like speed dating for networking, right?
Yeah, speed dating for business people.
So I have a bag of meat with my business cards on it. And so I'm going to each table, and I'm saying, hi, I'm Garrett. I'm the CEO of Trucker's Body Shop. This is what we do. And I'm just slapping meat into people's hands, shaking it, and then moving on after hearing their story. And at the end of the second night, this chief financial officer for this large trucking company sees me at the bar, like this after party, and she brings me over in front of this large crowd of people, and she loudly introduces me to the whole crew as, this is the meat slinger. You must meet the meat slinger.
Yeah, like, just, you're at an event called the Women in Trucking. You're pushing male performance enhancement pills as one of your options. You're handing out only meat, like your meat, to people, bro. Like, I mean, you set yourself up for so much failure with all of those circumstances.
And you know what?
But in the end, it worked out. In the end, it was okay. So.
It was really funny. So, I mean, not everything we do is for men, right? And that's the point, right? We have.
I know, it's just the one that I keep grasping onto.
I
It's
know.
absolutely hilarious. It's just like the most marketable one that you do. Obviously, like taking care of their health is marketable, but
Yeah,
just
so,
to me,
I
it's
mean-
just that's the fuck. I have to take you through the lore of that since we're already over our time. We're gonna be done before the 15 minutes. Like we have less than 15 minutes left, but I have to take you through. There's a guy on LinkedIn, and he only sold male performance enhancement pills. That was all that he did. That was the only thing that he did. It had nothing to do with trucking. He was in some completely different industry, and we just came across his post one day, and then like me and my like business partner started like just like making some jokes. Because that's absolutely hilarious. Because he made like a very serious LinkedIn post about these like pills for men, performance enhancement pills, and the whole trucking community like showed up to this guy's post, man. And we were trying to get him on the podcast, but he wouldn't come. So you're like, you just remind me of that.
Wait,
guy.
I'm the
like,
boner pill guy who showed up.
Yeah, you're the boner pill guy that actually came on to the show. So that's why it's like very funny to me, because there was like this whole lore around this topic, and we were already teasing because we thought he was going to come on, but then he didn't come on.
I beat him to the
So,
punch,
anyways,
I beat him to the punch.
do you have a crazy driving story besides handing out jerky at a women's?
and besides being monikered the meat slinger,
The meat slinger.
oh man, I have a number of crazy driving stories. I'll tell you what happened.
You could pick two. You could pick
Okay.
two crazy driving stories.
All right. So on the 8th day of trucking, when I was driving at Everett Express,
On the 8th day of trucking. It's like a Christmas song, like the start of it.
on the 8th day of trucking, driving Everett Express. So I got caught in an ice storm, and it was not great.
On your 8th day of being a truck driver.
Yes, got
Yes.
on my own, out
Absolutely
of
best,
training, caught in an ice storm. And so I woke up that morning. I was in Dallas, and I was picking up a load of flammables and oxidizers from this
It's
place.
because that I got caught in an ice storm in Dallas, Texas. Like you're like the unluckiest dude.
Right.
There's
Of
been like
all
three
places.
of those. Yeah, there's been like 3 of those ever.
So I get caught in this ice storm, right? And as I wake up, there's no bathroom access. It's cold as hell. It's like 17 degrees outside. I walk 1.5 miles to some random factory and just walk myself inside because I don't have a toilet in my truck yet. I don't have that experience, right? I don't have that knowledge. And I go and I walk up to the desk, and these people are like, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I'm a trucker. I walked like 1 mile to get here. I'm really sorry. I just need to use your bathroom." And they're like,
Bro.
"All right, dude, whatever. It's over there. Just don't steal anything and let us know when you're leaving." I'm like, "All right, thanks." So I use the bathroom. I head out. And as I get on the road, there's been some traffic through Dallas already after the ice storm. So there's enough space to put your tires in the ice. And as I head east, it seems pretty good. I call up dispatch and I say, "Hey, I know Alabama got hit pretty hard by the ice storm, and I'm on my way to Georgia from Dallas." I said, "So should I keep going? Are the roads safe?" And dispatch is like, "Oh yeah, buddy, it's fine. Keep going. You're good. You're good.
Don't worry. Yeah, we're looking at our like radar, weather radar. Like they're just like, don't even look at anything.
Yeah, we can see everything. It's fine. Keep going, buddy. I got people going that way."
Yeah, I already have 7 trucks there. Like this morning, everybody's fine. And then when you get hit with something, they're like, "Oh, that's crazy. Those other 7 guys didn't get hit by that thing."
Yeah, so I'm heading east, and Louisiana looks fine. So like I believe dispatch, right? Because there's no ice on the ground. And then I get to Mississippi, and by the time I get to Mississippi, there's shade, there's trees, the land's a little different, and so the left lane on Interstate 20 is ice, and so now there's 2 lanes. And as we're going along, traffic starts slowing down, and we go from 2 lanes to 1 lane. And then the truck in front of me starts drifting across the fucking interstate. And I'm like, holy fucking shit, what am I gonna do? And I just, on an instinct, I just throw the wheel to the left, and there's a half-mile sheet of ice right in front of me, man. And, and I start jackknifing. My trailer is coming up beside me.
Yeah,
The
your
trailer in
trailer's like
front of
on
me.
the passenger window.
Yeah, dude, you shouldn't be there. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And so the trailer in front of me is just in the right lane and halfway into the middle lane. And my trailer's coming up and almost hits it. And I'm carrying flammables and oxidizers. I can see my life flashing before my eyes. It's like my 8th day trucking alone, dude. And I'm about to piss myself.
Wow.
And I scoot over to the left side of the interstate because I threw my wheel, right? And so as I'm going, I hit the grass and I gain some traction. I just jam the accelerator in, and my trailer goes whoop, right back behind me. And I'm breathing so hard. I'm shaking. I can't believe what's just happened. And this CRST guy just flies through, and he passes me on the right, and he gives me the best finger guns I've ever had in my entire life. And I'm like, yeah, I'm the captain of this iron chariot. And then I pull over and cry.
You didn't crash at all. Like, you completely got out of that situation.
Dude, I was so fucking lucky. It was it was not skill. I just made the right decision at the right time.
Yeah, let me clarify this. This was not skill, bro. I had no experience. I got so lucky. That's good, bro. That's good. It's good that you like don't have an ego about it. Like, I'm like the luckiest guy alive, but I don't know how I got out of it. I just did, yeah. So,
I got super lucky, man. Oh my gosh.
Oh. Bro, that's an absolute ridiculous like story. So like you go from women in trucking handing out meat, becoming the meat slinger, to your 8th day as a truck driver, literally almost dying and somehow having absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, you have a third story, or are we moving on from this?
Oh man. All right. So I'll give you a third story. There's something I'm known for now. And
wait. Just before you start the third story, I meant to tell you this. Like, so I used to be a plumber. So if you can imagine, you know, when somebody has a problem with their drain pipes, like their toilets don't work, right? So like whatever house, like, because I was a drain layer, I was only going for the drain pipes. So if I come to your house, like your toilet doesn't work. Like that's why I'm there.
Right.
And so you can obviously imagine we don't have access to a toilet in the middle of a residential neighborhood every day. And you just get a Home Depot bucket, bro. Like you just get a Home Depot bucket. You leave that in your truck.
That's like, look,
wise lessons that you'll learn.
I'm bougie now. I bought a flip out toilet seat from Amazon, and I just put a trash can,
just
like a
straight
trash
Home Depot bucket, man. You just gotta make it work. Close the doors of the Sprinter. Anyways, on to story number 3.
Oh man, so I had the incredible opportunity to do a load going to Alaska. And
yes, okay. So how does that work? You're probably one of the only people. Like, I mean, I know I can't remember her name off the top of my head. That we'll come back. I know her. Like, she went to Alaska too. She goes to Alaska a lot. But so what did you haul? Where did it pick up? How did you get back from Alaska? How was the drive? I mean, how did all of that go?
So I picked up some hazmat in Texas, and we were hauling it all the way up to Fairbanks, Alaska. And
are you serious?
Say again?
Are you serious? So you got a hazmat shipment from Texas to Alaska?
Yep. 100%, dude.
Fairbanks.
It was like 4,000 miles.
Yeah, wow. It's like north of Anchorage. It's like in the middle of nothing. Like,
yep.
Okay, so explain this to me. Like, why? How?
Yeah, so we're driving along now, right? We're owner operators. We work for a company that specializes in mostly hazmat, and we pick up this load, and it pays like $27,000. And yeah. And so we're over the moon, but we're in for a lot, right?
Where did it pick up?
So I can't discuss the specifics
because
they don't like
I just
talking about the customers.
The rough place, like the city. I mean, like
Oh, Laredo.
or even like the closest. So, okay, so Laredo pickup. Wow.
Yeah,
dude. No, I don't care about the customers. I know like that's weird stuff to talk about. I just wanted to know the lane. I have Google Maps open. I'm just curious. Yeah, 4,000, almost 4,200 miles.
Yeah, so we picked it up in March, and as we headed north, we got to Oklahoma, and we stopped. My wife and I were switching out, and I was doing my pre-trip, and both of my steer tires were at 60 psi, and I was freaking out because the load was going to Alaska, and if we had problems with our tires, and we're up in the Alcan Highway, we have been told that there's a strip of hundreds of miles where if you break down, no one's going to get to you. And so I called Love's. Love's comes over and they inspect my tires and they say, oh, they just ran out of air. And I said, no, they had air yesterday. Something is wrong. And I'm not going to continue to go north.
Don't just run out of air in 24 hours.
Yeah. So guy finds an air leak in the left steer, and then in the right one, he spends 45 minutes trying to figure out what is going on with his tire. And he says, no, there's nothing wrong with this tire. And I said, I don't care. Put a new tire on. And he's like, fine, I'll put a new tire on, but it'll cost you. I'm like, I don't care. I have the money. Just put the tire on. And so he starts taking it off. And as he's putting the new tire on, he's looking at the inside of the whole tire while the other one's inflating. And he finds that there is a long cut inside of the sidewall and the tire that he just took off. And his face goes white and he's like, sorry, dude. I was wrong. This could have been a big, bad blowout. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. Well, we got the tire on. We went up the road. And as we went up the road, on my 30, we had another tire that was having problems, but this was a drive tire. And I had to get that fixed soon, but I knew it had enough air that it could be done after we passed the windstorm in Wyoming, which was coming. Wyoming always has windstorms, right?
So yeah, it's always high wind. It's always shut down highway there.
Yeah. So we had to book it past Casper and into Billings. Yeah. So we had to get to Billings, right? And so I wake up my wife in the back and I say, hey, I need you to call this number and I need you to make sure they have a tire ready for us when we get up there so that we don't get caught in the blizzard that's coming after the high windstorm going through Montana. She was a champ, dude. So she nails it. I wake up in the morning. There's the sound of impact wrenches. We have a new tire, right? And she's heading up the road. We're just in the front of the blizzard. We're not getting caught too much in it. We skirt past it. There are some whiteout conditions, but it hasn't settled too much on the road yet. And we're able to get to the border of Canada and get past the bad weather. So after that, we head really far north and into, I believe it was Alberta. And we have another tire have a problem.
Out in the middle of nowhere. Alberta.
Out in the middle of nowhere. There was this town, I think it was like Fort Pierce or something. I can't remember the name of it. Very, very far north, right near the border of British Columbia. And they had one tire shop in that whole town. And that tire shop happened to have one of our tires. And we were able to put that on and get back going up the road, dude. And we got to the border of the Yukon territory. And because we're going,
sorry, I'm looking on my screen. I'm following this whole myself here,
dude. So we went through northern British Columbia, like on the way to Whitehorse.
Like the northern Rocky Mountains. And how was it? How was the views? How was this trip scenic wise throughout most of it? You saw
I had already seen 50 states at that point, man, and it was really fitting that the Yukon and the Northern Rockies and Alaska were my last because it was life changing. A piece of me forever lives there, dude. It was so unbelievably beautiful. Once we got into Whitehorse and we'd done our permits and everything, and we were heading towards the Alcan Highway, on the Alcan Highway, there's this mountain range. It's called Kluane National Park. And so there's these jagged teeth that go like 19,000 feet in the air. These just unbelievably beautiful mountains, dude.
Insane background.
Dude, it's just like, those mountains are almost as tall as Mount Everest. I think Mount Everest is like 24,000 feet, right? So you got a 19,000 foot mountain just right in the background, and you drive all the way up to it, and you're just riding right along it. You feel so freaking small. You feel so tiny, dude.
I mean, dude, I don't know, like taking a load to Alaska, I don't know how many truck drivers can say they did that, because that's always one of the jokes, you know, in dispatch, where the drivers say, I don't like this load, but I'll get you a load to Alaska, but like nobody actually does it yet.
Dude, we were lucky because when we went, there weren't any frost heaves. So it was in the middle between winter and spring. And because of that, the ground hadn't defrosted enough to create a lot of potholes. But the majority of the Alcan Highway going through Yukon was unpaved and like gravel. And you had to go 35 miles an hour, like most of the way up. So you didn't destroy the truck and break down in the middle of nowhere.
So tell me this, this is the one question I've always been the most curious about. How did you guys get back to America? Like, you obviously had to deadhead out of Alaska, right?
Yeah. So that was even better than going up, if I'll be honest. So
yeah, I want to know, how did you guys? So you deadheaded out of Alaska. Did you start picking up freight maybe in Canada, or like how did that go?
No. So we deadheaded out of Alaska and we went all.
Yeah, that's step one. I already knew that. Like, I knew that there was no way you booked.
We went all the way down to Seattle, and on the way down
to Seattle,
dude. On the way down, it was nuts. Because
are you serious? So you guys went from Fairbanks, Alaska to Seattle.
Yeah, dude, the load paid good. So on the way down, right?
2,100 miles empty, bro. Jesus Christ. Bro.
So on the way down, right? We went through this area, through Whitehorse, right? And then we went down through BC. And the area south of Whitehorse, as you head down, I can't remember. It might be Highway 37. I can't remember the exact number of the highway, but there's this area called Jade City, where they get the majority of the jade, and this like volcanic, highly seismologically active region.
Where is that?
Jade City, British Columbia.
Oh, British Columbia. Okay.
Yes. So we went down through Jade City. And once we got to Jade City, we had no cell service.
Yeah,
we had no cell service.
Nothing over here, dude.
We had no cell service for 7 hours straight.
Yeah, easily, bro. That's literally like the middle of absolute nothingness. Like the more north from the American border you go, the more nothing Canada becomes.
Dude, we had to get in touch with my accountant for like urgent matter, and he kept trying to hit me up and losing me, And
yeah, sorry, I'm just deadheading 2,000 miles from Alaska because there's no freight in the middle of Alaska.
The middle of nowhere, right?
Canada.
And so we bootstrapped that. I managed to get in touch with them, but that's because I pulled over at a ranger station in a city and they had Wi-Fi. So we just parked the truck, showed up, got on the Wi-Fi, gave him a call, gave him what he needed, and headed down the road.
So you guys ended up driving to Seattle, Washington, and you just started working again.
Yep.
That's ridiculous, man. That's actually cool because I never got to talk to an owner op or like anybody that hauled a load to Alaska. Like I was just always so curious, how does that work? And you're like really like convincing me to be a truck driver, man. I'm like, I want to be a truck driver. I want to do this.
Dude, I got to tell you a funny story about Alaska, right? So when I was in front of the Welcome to Alaska sign, I was doing that tourist thing, right? Where you're taking photos. You're like, this is your once in a lifetime experience. And so,
yeah, I mean, you're not going to take a load to Alaska ever again, probably.
Right. So I get back in the truck and I'm looking at the selfie I've taken. and there's all these fresh grizzly bear tracks in the snow and the mud around me, and it'd be like brand new grizzly bear tracks, and I'm like, oh shit, I could have died.
Yeah, I mean, and you can't take your guns. How does that work? Like, as an American, like, can you guys take guns into Alaska? Like, what do you guys tell the Canadian? Not even about the guns, but what do you guys tell the Canadian border when you're going to Alaska? Like, hey, I'm just trying to go to Alaska. Like, sorry,
so you get something called an inter-transit manifest when you show up, right? And so you get to the border and you say, hey, here's my paperwork. I'm going to Alaska.
I'm going to Alaska.
Yeah, and they stamp it.
Canada.
And they say, when are you going in? Or sorry, when are you leaving? When are you coming back through? That's what they want to know.
Yeah, okay. No, I was just curious about that too, because you guys have to cross the border.
But as far as guns, man, I can't bring my freedom sticks with me.
Yeah, that's what I figured, because Canada's, I mean, we're a lot more controlled with the guns over there.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're on a terrible topic. Thank you for telling me about Alaska. Let me save ourselves here. We got to run through this quickly. This is the last 3 or 4 questions, and we're out of here. We got 10 minutes left. Hobbies when you're not in Alaska, when you're not losing weight, when you're not helping drivers lose weight. What do you do for fun? What is fun for you these days?
So there's something that I get to do all over the country in the truck that I absolutely love. I got a stand-up paddleboard, bro, and it's inflatable, so I can keep it in the truck. It's so cool,
I don't know why I can't even picture what that is.
Yeah, look it up.
Paddleboard.
So it's like a surfboard
that you stand up surfboard on. You just stand on and you have that big stick. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, dude. So I like to fish. I like to go stand up paddleboarding. I'll get up out in the water. I'll get out.
Where are you based out of right now? Where's home for you? Like,
oh man, I'm staying in a rental in Knoxville right now while I'm working on this business. And I have been for the last month and a half, but I technically live out of Bellingham, Washington. So like 40 miles south of the border of Canada. And I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia. I kind of like to stay around. Yeah, everywhere, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, where is this? I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. This guy.
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah, I'm from, what's that one? Macon. I'm from Macon.
Macon.
I'm from Macon. Yeah, there's that guy, VinWiki. Like, it's a YouTube channel about cars. And I can't remember where that guy, Alpharetta. That's the Alpharetta Police Department.
Bro, I love Alpharetta. So that's where I went to high school. That's the area I really like to spend time around, bro.
Yeah, I mean, that's where these guys make these YouTube videos. The Alpharetta police are always involved, like making, helping them out. It's good, but
it's a good area.
The George is funny.
George is fun.
But okay, so paddleboarding, fishing.
So I'm big in stand-up paddleboarding. I'm big in fishing. I like fitness.
I love fishing as well. Fishing is super fun.
So this is kind of crazy, but I'm really into specimen seashell collecting. Like,
oh wow. I don't know, what does that even mean, bro? What is this?
Oh man!
Like, why?
So you're not gonna believe this.
Need to be there? Why can't you just say I collect seashells, bro?
Bro, because like, listen, there's like different elements of this, right? So there's an entire organization called the Conchologists of America, and they're people who take like the naming, the discovery of new seashells like super seriously. Like so like we're like these mega nerds who sit around with like magnifying glasses and analyze seashells and like talk about them and write scientific papers. And
you're dead serious about this.
I'm fucking dead serious, dude.
Yeah, you can't even make that up. Like, you can't even lie about that. It's just too specific, bro. Like, it has to be true.
Yeah, so I have a bunch of buddies and we'll go on expeditions where we're hunting for seashells. We're going to barrier islands and mangroves. And we're collecting seashells and we're writing down the collection data, and then we show off our seashells like a bunch of like weirdos and
like
talk
Pokemon
about it.
Cards, but those seashells. All right, man. I think that's a good place to leave hobbies. Like, so yeah, I'm waiting for the day somebody comes on the show and tells me that they do bird watching, but like serious level of bird watching. Bro.
Dude,
I'm waiting for that
I
one.
couldn't, man. I couldn't. I
I
like
don't know.
other
Somebody's
stuff.
gonna say it, bro. Somebody's gonna say it. One of these days, I'm gonna ask somebody, "What's your favorite hobby?" They'd be like, "Dude, like I love bird watching." I'm gonna lose it if that happens.
Oh man, I'm big into the hiking. I'm big into the outdoor sports. Like I'm big into adventuring. I like getting out in a dune buggy. I like
What's your
doing
favorite sports? You watch any sports? Favorite sports teams?
man.
Sports guy.
I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but I only like playing sports. I do not like watching sports.
That's
it's
not
boring.
even. You're not even gonna get a lot of heat for that. Yeah, like I honestly only watch one soccer team, and that's like my whole sports career right now. Moving into music.
Sure, go ahead.
Moving into music, man. When it comes to music, and also like why ultimate frisbee, bro? That shit is so hard. It's so hard to throw a frisbee in a straight line. I can't play regular frisbee.
So I really enjoy cardio, right? And I'm good with my hand-eye coordination. So for me, ultimate.
Oh yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah, I'm terrible at it. Just side this, sneak this in me heavily, bro. Like I hate ultimate frisbee. Like yeah, well, your hand-eye coordination is pretty bad, probably. Fucking guy.
Oh shit, dude, I'm dying. Oh man, no. I like it, man.
Sending shots at me, bro. Like, but okay, let's get away from that. What's your favorite music? Because honestly, that like. I don't wait. Just let me guess. Wait, just let me guess.
Okay,
I never guess. I feel like I could actually guess.
And show you my hair, and you can guess.
I don't know how does that help?
Say what?
Is that supposed to like help me? Is that supposed to help me?
Inspiration. Let's go.
Inspiration. Well, I was gonna say the Beatles, but now after you showed me your hair, I'm gonna say Slipknot, bro.
I listened to Slipknot a lot as a teenager.
Yeah, so did I actually. Like, what do you listen to actually?
Oh man. So nowadays I listen to a whole lot of different things. I listen to crazy stuff like electronica. I listen to electro swing, right? Like
you listen to specimen seashell collectors doing podcasts.
Yeah, I listen to like beach bum music, right? Like I listen to a whole lot of instrumentals. If it's music, if it's music that you can imagine somebody in the 80s driving and listening to at sundown, I'm probably listening to that.
All right, man. I'm moving on. I'm getting out of here. We got 2 questions left. But specimen seashell collecting sounds like such a made up thing.
I like rap. I like bluegrass.
I got 2 final questions for you. There are 2 recurring questions on this podcast, and we are finally out of here. Regarding train and rail transportation, how many chuggas come before choo choo?
Oh shit, that's a really good question.
Yeah, you gotta say it out loud.
Chugga, choo choo.
That's so many, bro. How many was that? Like 10?
All right, hold on. We're gonna try this again. Chugga. That's 5. Chugga. So the 5. Choo choo. There you go. That's 10.
So 10 chuggas before choo choo.
Yeah.
The answer is 8. I think that 10 is an absolutely unacceptable amount. I think it's 4. 10 is still a division of 2, so you did okay. The final question of today's podcast, and we are going to bring you back for part 2 in 6 months when we start seeing how you guys are doing, when you have some more time under your belt, because you're just an absolute pleasure to talk to. And it's been an awesome podcast.
It has been amazing, Alex. You're fun as hell.
The absolute last question that we are most famous for on this podcast is the chicken wing choices. So when you eat chicken wings, do you prefer drums or flats?
Oh shit, dude, I'm a drums guy.
Good. Right answer. Ranch or blue cheese?
Oh shit. There's a qualifier that goes in here, right? It has to be the right kind of.
This is the least important choice of all 3 of your questions. So
all right. So if this is homemade blue cheese beats homemade ranch. But if this is not, then ranch is superior to
Store-bought.
yeah.
That's one of the best answers I've ever heard, actually, because you're right. Like store-bought ranch is way better than store-bought blue cheese, but homemade ranch is pretty bad.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. So finally, breaded or non-breaded chicken wings?
Non-breaded, dude. Get them smoked.
All right, man. I mean, you got drums, so you've also invented the middle section. I've never heard an answer like that. I'm gonna start using that because you're right. Like store bought, is it store bought? Is it homemade? You've made me ponder some questions about chicken wings. So. After about 40 times of asking that question, that's the first time I've thought about that. So good job, man.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Garrett, it has been an absolute pleasure. We are going to be done for today. And like I said, I look forward to following your guys' journey and being a part of it in any way that I can. So thank you for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Alex. It's been an honor and absolutely a blast.
Hey, man, we're going to keep in touch, and we're just, doing everything we can for the driver's health. And I really look forward to watching what you guys do over the next couple months.
Thanks, Alex.
Hey, have a good rest of your Friday and a great weekend, man.
Thank you. You too, bro.
And that's it for podcast episode 53. That was Garrett Steenblik, CEO of Trucker's Body Shop. They are going to be helping truck drivers get the prescriptions they need and the medical health care that they need on the road. So if you're a truck driver, hit them up. They're a brand new company, and I really look forward to seeing what they're going to be accomplishing. Have a good weekend, everybody.